G'day, it's Bevan Addison here for ADAMA, coming to you from the front room of our house rather than from the field where I'm normally doing field days or field walks or even motorbike tours. But we've got a studio set up here because we're locked down because of the coronavirus. As are all ADAMA staff, we're working from home at the moment, but it doesn't mean we're not working for you guys. And today I'm going to answer some of the questions around supply channels, which we've been asked a lot about the last few weeks really. So the supply channels, there's been a bit of a perfect storm at the moment, and it's caused by a few different things. There's four things really adding up to create a problem. There's a lot of industry restructure in China. There's been a lot of global mergers. There's obviously coronavirus, and there's some great cropping conditions set up for Australia. So with all of those things going on, we've had a few issues around supply, but we're getting on top of them. So I guess start with the China industry restructure. This has been going on for several years now, probably 3 or 4 years. And what that's all about is trying to improve the quality of the factories, improve the environmental standing, etc. And so a lot of factories are getting consolidated into large industrial parks, I guess. This gives an ability to monitor and manage the situation a bit better. There's been a bit of consolidation of some active ingredient manufacturers, and all of this has led to some disruption as all these changes take place. We've had little bits and pieces of this over time, but we've managed to work through it. But that's one part of the puzzle. The second part is a bit about the global mergers that are going on. So we've had things like Bayer and Monsanto merge. ChemChina has bought ADAMA and Syngenta and a couple of others in recent times. Sumitomo have taken over some of the new farm business in South America. Dow DuPont have formed Corteva, and FMC and Cheminova have merged. Now, none of that is particularly scary or tricky, but every time there's a merger, systems have to be integrated, and there's often a bit of a spin-off and divestment of different active ingredients through both what the companies require and through regulatory frameworks that are needed to be met. The third part of it is obviously COVID-19, which has had massive global impact. It started in the central area of China, as we know. It was followed up quite quickly by a lot of shutdowns, which was a problem with obviously health and industries. That shutdown happened at about the same time as we usually have big demand for product from China for our ag industries. There was industry disruption as factories switched over and started doing things like making health products, masks, etc. And that obviously led to transport issues as well with shutdowns. So all of those things had an impact. Thankfully, they're getting back on top of that, coming back online, and the production is starting again. That had impacts on global shipping. So as with any transport, you can't have ships sitting idle. So if they can't load, they're going to move on so that they don't miss their next shipping slot. So there were thousands and thousands of containers, probably pushing 1 million containers, floating around empty. They should have been loaded with goods from China. But again, we're playing catch up at the moment. Things seem to be back on track. But for a while there was a lot of idle shipping and a lot of empty containers. So how did that impact the Australian situation? Luckily, we've managed to work our way through most of this, and there's been minimal disruption so far. As we know, agriculture is considered an essential service, and all the parts of the chain that are linked to agriculture are considered essential. So our factories are working flat out. Our logistics and transport are exempt from things like border closures, and anybody who's involved in the research and facilitating the ag business can go about their business a little bit disrupted, but for the most part, they're on the job. So that's good. And then on top of all of that, we've then had almost a perfect start. We've had rain across all agricultural areas across Australia for the first time in several years, particularly for the eastern seaboard. It's probably been 2 to 3 years since they've had really good rain. We've got somewhere in the order of 15 to 18 million hectares of area that needed to be sprayed, is getting another spray, needs to be sprayed before they get into the winter cropping situation. Because of the drought in the eastern seaboard, the pipeline there of products was empty. So over the past 2 to 3 years, stuff has been moved around to areas that need it. So the supply lines were empty over there. We've got massive demand, and that would have put pressure on our logistics systems no matter what, let alone the fact that we've got these other things going on. So that's what's led to the perfect storm. We've had these 4 components. We've had China restructuring. We've had global ag mergers. COVID-19 has created massive problems worldwide. We don't need to harp on that. And we've had probably the best start that we've had for several years. So all of that created a bit of an issue. We seem to be working our way through that. We're back on track. And there's going to be some disruption, a little bit more disruption. But for the most part, by the time people need it, we've weathered most of the storm and we're back into gear. So hopefully we'll be out in the field with the next lot of videos. Thanks for watching. We might see you again from the front room at some point. Cheers.